Brittney Griner have just filed for divorce from Cherelle Griner. She is 35 years old, the wife who fought a Russian court, a foreign country, and even the public to bring her home when she was younger. They were married for 8 years, had a son who is 2 years old, and made a video that showed the world how much they loved each other. All of this is now in a file at the Fulton County Courthouse. So what did they actually do with each other? If you watch this movie all the way through, you will know where the real story stands right now. The divorce filing that made the whole WNBA world shake. This wasn't something that fans, the sports media, or the millions of people who had just spent a month listening to Brittney and Cherelle Griner talk about IVF injections and embryo transfers on a podcast together like they were the cutest couple in professional sports. Then on the 30th of July, everything changed. Brittney Griner went to the Superior Court of Fulton County, Georgia, and asked for a divorce. The filing got to reporters all over the country in just a few hours. The petition says that the couple got married on the 18th of June, 2018, but had not been together since the 24th of July, which is only 6 days before the paperwork was sent in. The filing says that Griner says the marriage is broken beyond repair and there is no chance of getting back together. He is asking the court to grant the divorce right away. The couple has a 2-year-old son named Bash. She wants joint legal and physical custody of him and child support, and what the papers say is a fair distribution of the couple's assets and bills. The filing also says that Griner wants to keep some property that she thinks of as different, such as things she bought before she got married or things she got as a gift or inheritance. When the news came out, Brittney Griner's lawyer made a short, careful statement. They only said that this is something they hope to settle quietly and didn't say anything else at this time. Representatives for Cherelle Griner did not respond right away to requests from the media. As of right now, neither side has released a joint statement or spoken directly about the filing in their own words. There was a very good reason why the timing hurt. Just a few weeks ago, Brittney and Cherelle talked about their journey to parenthood through IVF on the Mom Show, which was hosted by WNBA guard Skylar Diggins and broadcaster Cassidy Hubbarth. Just a few days before, the couple celebrated their son Bash's 2nd birthday in public. Both women wrote sweet birthday posts on social media that had nothing to do with what was to come a few weeks later. A small detail in the paperwork also caught the attention of people who have been following the couple for a long time. Reports for years said that Brittney and Cherelle got married in 2019. This date was used on a huge number of celebrity bio pages and fan sites. The actual court filing shows the 18th of June, 2018 as the wedding date, while earlier news stories said they got married in 2019. A small but telling reminder of how much of the information that is spread online about this couple has never been checked against a court document before being passed off as fact. There is an Olympic gold medalist, 35 years old, at the center of it all. For more than a decade, she has changed what people thought was possible for a woman her size on the basketball court. Griner has been a WNBA All-Star 10 times. She played for the Phoenix Mercury for 11 seasons before going to the Atlanta Dream for 1 year in 2025. She then signed a new 1-year deal worth about $19 million with the Connecticut Sunday to start the 2026 season. In her junior year, she led Baylor University to an undefeated 40-0 record, which is still the only perfect season in the school's history. She also has a lot more dunks than any other player in WNBA history. This time, none of that career success made the news. This time, it was her wedding. Brittney Griner's job has a huge difference in how much money she makes. She was one of the biggest stars in the WNBA for about 11 seasons, but her total league salary during that time barely went over $1 million. This shows that there has been a pay gap between women's and men's professional basketball for a long time. These differences have only recently started to be fixed by the WNBA's new collective bargaining agreement, which includes better benefits and higher salaries. Luckily, Griner made a lot more money than her WNBA salary. Like many other top players, she made a lot more money by signing lucrative contracts overseas during the off-season. In those countries, pay are often much higher than those in the US. She made extra money through endorsement deals, book profits, and real estate investments. Her net worth is thought to be around $5 million as of last year. That number is likely to keep going up as she earns her Connecticut Sun salary and additional raises linked to the league's growing TV rights deals and business success. Before we talk about who Cherelle Griner is, you should know how far she went to get her wife out of a Russian prison camp and back home. And that story is exactly why so many fans find it hard to believe that this marriage is over. Cherelle Griner, the lawyer who fought to get her wife back home. Cherelle Griner was famous for one thing above all else. She wouldn't give up on her wife, even when it looked like the situation couldn't get any worse. Cherelle and Brittney met many years ago, when they were both students at Baylor University. Brittney was already making a name for herself in college basketball, and Cherelle was studying political science and government with a minor in family and child studies. They got back together years later, after Brittney's first marriage had ended. Their relationships grew slowly compared to what would happen next, which became a public spectacle. Cherelle then went to North Carolina Central University School of Law to study law and graduated in May 2022. A few months later, her identity as a working lawyer would become more important than almost anyone could have imagined. In 2018, after Brittney's first marriage ended, the two got engaged, and they spent most of their early years together away from cameras. This was different from how public their lives would become after Brittney's detention in Russia, when millions of strangers watched their story. Brittney Griner was arrested at a Moscow airport in February 2022 after police said they found vape cartridges with hashish oil in her luggage. This is a very serious crime in Russia, according to the law. After that, Griner spent almost 10 months in jail, went to court in Russia, and got a 9-year sentence that shocked people who had been following his career for years. As the war in Ukraine was making headlines around the world at the same time, Cherelle became the public face of the fight to bring her home. She talked to reporters and held press conferences, and she wouldn't let her wife's story fade from the news. Since then, Cherelle has been very open about how that time affected her emotionally. She said that the two of them planned which parts of their long-delayed in vitro fertilization process they wanted to do together. This conversation became more important when it became clear that Brittney's freedom was not safe. Later, Griner told People magazine that while she was in jail, she wondered if the family they had planned together would ever come together. She said she kept thinking about how she could ask Cherelle to wait through a 9-year sentence that neither of them had chosen. In the end, Griner was freed in December 2022 as part of a swap of prisoners between the US and Russia. A deal that is still talked about as one of the most controversial diplomatic events of that time, in part because of who else was still being held by the Russians. Paul Whelan, a Marine veteran who had been held in Russia for a lot longer than Griner, was not part of that trade. And people were upset at the time that Griner's freedom was given priority. There has been criticism that both Cherelle and Brittney have directly admitted to in later interviews, rather than trying to avoid. Cherelle's work didn't end when her wife got home. She kept talking out in public about wrongfully detaining people, and eventually she was made an executive producer on the Brittney Griner story. The ESPN documentary, which had its world premiere at the 2026 Sundance Film Festival, gave viewers an unusually close look at how the two women dealt with the situation as a couple. You should take a break from that documentary for a moment because it changes the timeline in a way that makes fans' current divorce filings even harder to understand. The movie was praised by critics in Park City as both a picture of Brittney and Cherelle's marriage, and a story about their time in Russian detention. Made up of home movies, quiet family times, and years of what seemed like a real relationship, fans on social media are having a hard time figuring out how to fit the two versions of this story together, after seeing that footage just a few months after it first aired, and against the background of a new divorce filing. To better understand how long this marriage has been going, let's take a look at what the last 8 years have been like behind the scenes and how quickly things went from a wedding to a court filing. After 8 years of marriage, IVF, and having children. If you take out the news stories from the last 2 weeks, what you're left with is a very detailed public record of a marriage that seemed stable, loving, and very open with fans for the most part. Following the end of Brittney's short first marriage to fellow basketball player Glory Johnson, she began dating Cherelle. That first marriage lasted only a year, and before the divorce was finalized in 2016, Griner asked for an annulment citing fraud and coercion. They have 2 girls together, Soleil Diem and Ava Simone, who were born in October 2015. Later, a court said that Griner has no biological connection to the girls, because Johnson had become pregnant with them using her own egg donor's sperm, while the 2 athletes were already breaking up. Brittney's relationship with Cherelle, on the other hand, developed more steadily over time. Both of them had been together for a long time before Bash came along. The divorce filing shows that they were formally married for 6 years by the time they announced they were going to have their first child in April 2024. In July of that year, Bash was born, just before Brittney went to France to compete for the United States at the Paris Olympics. She won her 3rd Olympic gold medal that summer, which was already the most important in her life. It wasn't easy or quick to get to Bash. Cherelle said that she and her husband planned their IVF process to happen during Brittney's WNBA offseason and her own law school graduation. They wanted to go through the whole process together instead of giving it to someone else. Cherelle has talked about how the hormone shots made her feel and how hard they were on her body. Brittney has also said that it was really hard to see her wife in pain. Their plans were completely thrown off when Brittney was detained by Russia in February 2022. They picked up where they left off when she got home and ended with what Cherelle called 3 viable embryos, one of which became their son. Public displays of love between the two women were pretty much always present during their marriage. Brittney often posted tributes to Cherelle on her birthday, anniversaries, and Mother's Day. She often said that her wife's strength kept the family together when Brittney's business was having a hard time. Cherelle, meanwhile, built her public image around being a mother and an advocate. She went to award shows, movie premieres, and other public events with her wife, while still working as a lawyer on her own. Aside from basketball, the couple also made a lot of public outings together. In 2023, they went to the Costume Institute benefit. They walked the red carpet together during awards season while Cherelle was pregnant and at the joint screening of the Brittney Griner story in January 2026, an event where Brittney was captured standing still and looking teary-eyed as the crowd cheered. The divorce filing hasn't changed any of that past, and there's no evidence in the court papers that any of it was ever false. There is only one narrow set of facts that the filing affirms: a date of marriage, a date of separation, a request for custody, and an equal distribution of goods. Other than that, the emotional reasons why 2 people who had built such a strong life together chose to end it are not known to the public and will remain that way at least for now. What else does the paperwork say about why Brittney Griner really chose to end her marriage to Cherelle? That is the part that everyone who is looking for information on this subject really wants to know, and they deserve an honest answer, not a guess that looks like a sure thing. So, what did the Griners really fight over? This is the part where a lot of entertainment news likes to make things sound certain that they aren't. And it's better to be honest about that than to act like it's not true. As of the date of the filing, neither Brittney Griner nor Cherelle Griner had said in public why they broke up. The divorce complaint uses standard legal language in Georgia to say that the marriage is broken beyond repair and can't be fixed. That phrase is used in the vast majority of no-fault divorce petitions, but it doesn't reveal the real reason for the breakup by itself. Brittney's lawyer's statement asking for privacy while the case is being handled is still the only official statement from either side, and it purposely doesn't say anything about motive. There has been silence, but that hasn't stopped people from guessing. Some have said that the couple's long-distance relationship over the years was caused by Brittney's overseas basketball commitments earlier in her career, her back-to-back Olympic commitments in Tokyo and Paris, her new job playing in the best 3-on-3 league, and her move to the Connecticut Sunday for the 2026 season. In spite of the best years of their marriage, they spent a lot of time apart. Others have pointed to the psychological weight of Brittney's detention in Russia, which historians and writers who covered the couple say changed how both women dealt with stress, having children, and their relationship long after Brittney was freed. Neither side has acknowledged any of that speculation, and taking it as fact would be the wrong way to go with this story. It is certain that this is what was said. Brittney Griner asked for a divorce in Fulton County, Georgia, on the 30th of July. She said that she and her husband had been separated since the 24th of July. She wants to share custody of their son, get child support, and have an equal share of the land. She also wants to keep some things she got before they got married. Cherelle Griner hasn't said anything in public about the breakup, and neither woman has talked about it in an interview, a statement, or a social media post. At this point, anything else is just guesswork dressed up as knowledge. Just the kind of thing that this couple's story, which is based on years of being honest about a very hard decade, deserves better than. Fans who are looking for a sudden, shocking reason, like an affair, betrayal, or some other kind of scandal, will not find one in the public record. And making one up for the sake of a headline would be unfair to two people who have already been through more real suffering than most famous people ever experience. It also helps to think about how quickly public opinion can change when one law document comes into play. Brittney and Cherelle Griner were praised by sports and entertainment media 2 months ago as one of the most openly loving couples in professional sports. A couple who had been through something big together and were still ready to talk about something private like fertility treatment in public. Now, news stories about the same couple's divorce are based mostly on a 4-page court document and a few old interviews, with not much new information to work with. There is a big difference between what music fans think they know and what has been confirmed. This is where rumors spread the fastest and should be looked at the most carefully before being repeated as facts. Every time a private relationship gets out in the open, this pattern keeps showing up. Even though the paperwork stays the same, the talk about it gets louder, more sure of itself, and less connected to what either side has actually said. As of now, there are only facts about 2 women who spent 8 years building something real, got through a crisis that most couples never have to imagine, and are now figuring out an ending that neither has chosen to explain to the public yet. What comes next could be a quiet, private settlement or a more public chapter down the road. Their son Bash is still at the center of both of their lawsuits and public lives. How they decide to co-parent him in the future may tell us more about this story than any court record ever will. This is the end of the movie. Thanks for seeing. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to get more. Click on the movie that comes up next to read more exciting stories.